Welcome back to another video. We're going to be reacting to Ryan Sparks, Stephen Gent and Graham Alexander's interview with the BBC Radio Leeds. Not a lot to be said from Graham Alexander, neither should there be a lot to be said for Graham Alexander. I mean, you can ask him questions every Thursday and every Saturday night, you know. He didn't need to be there, he shouldn't have been there, because he's not the one who should be accountable for the mess that is at Bradford City for the last 3 years, 3 months that Ryan Sparks has been at the helm. And the last 7 years that Stephen Rupp has been here and absent. But I think the core of it is that he was told, Ryan Sparks, when he came into his football club, to stay up or not to go bust. And that is exactly how we run. And for me, this is the whole problem with the football club. And it lies at the top. You know, we've got someone at the top who's stuck in the tree, and he's unwilling to help everyone else off it. You know, because he's just sat there with his arms crossed saying, I'm not getting off this tree. And, you know, that the firemen who keep coming up to try and get him off, you know, he's not budging. And that's Stephen Rupp. You know, he's a stubborn man who won't sell this football club. And who can blame him? You know, he's in control of whatever he likes. It's his business. But that is the problem. That it is. A football club is not a business. We run like a business. And that's why we're 18th in League Two. You know, all we heard really from I mean, most of you might not have watched it, so I'll just tell you now in 10 seconds. It was a complete waste of time. Ryan Sparks was basically telling everyone about how great he is and what he's done to change the club since he's come in 3 years and 3 months. The big change that we've seen is our average league position being 12th, which is great. You know, keep doing what you're doing, Ryan. You're doing a fantastic job at getting this football club back into League One, where we were when Stephen Rupp came in. But no, to be serious, we don't have much of a plan. You know, it didn't really give us a real identity that we have. You know, it does seem scattered, especially when you listen to what Ryan Sparks says. You know, there's no real clear plan of action that we have. Yes, we get told that we want to bring in young players and develop them for assets, but then we also get told that our recruitment project is balanced and mixed. What good's mixed? You know, I mean, there's a few. I know there's a lot of clubs who are quite mixed in the recruitment and are quite successful at that. But when your recruitment's mixed, your manager recruitment's mixed, and the staff's mixed, then you're going to get mixed reviews, aren't you? And that's exactly what we've got. And the problem is, I don't see a clear structure at the football club, and I know that there's obviously some plan. Otherwise, otherwise we'd be where we are, I suppose. But there must be some plan. I was looking for this before I went, and it's looking straight at me, so I'll put it back there. It was just staring at me then. I'm going, where's it? It's there. So I've lost my mind as much as Ryan Sparks has. But yeah, I mean, I'll go for a few quotes. January tried to add goals. We've tried to add goals by bringing in a 20-year-old in Callum Kavanagh, who's, I can't remember the exact stats, actually I'll get them up for you, who has scored 3 goals in 34 appearances at professional level. Yes, 57 goals in 83 appearances in youth level is quite promising. But, you know, how can you gauge the difference between that? You know, Tyreek Wright came in, he only scored 4 goals in his spell in the first half of last season, when he were with us. Yes, Jake Young's come in, who got 16 goals in League Two, but he hasn't been a new sign, he hasn't been someone who we've brought into the squad. Yes, Graham Alexander said he's like a new signing, but if he says that, it looks good, doesn't it? You know, saying it's like we've got a new signing, saying that he adds that to the January recruitment. Well, in January recruitment, he came in a year and a half ago, did Jake Young. In January, we had a striker who came in, and we didn't bring him in because a medical injury flagged up, and that were in the last 2 days before deadline day, which is interesting because we were linked to Charlie Wyke throughout January, strong links, and he was at the club, but he ended up going to Rov. But what do you think of it? Because I actually think good on him. You know, I suppose they could have said that to make them look good. You know, because there were a lot of questions on the fitness and the injuries, and looking at players who come in and doing the due diligence on players who come into a club and have injury problems since joining us, to then say that we turned down a striker because an injury flagged up in his medical, it does sound good. So I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too much into that. To look into other things that he said as well. The mixed recruitment I've already touched on. And this is Stephen Gent. We built towards a formation and a play style, and it suddenly changed towards the back end of the window. And I'm sure he ain't used to speaking to the media, because I think that's the first time I've actually heard him. I can't remember him actually. I'm sure he must have done, but I can't remember him speaking to media when he came into the club in May 2022. So yeah, he said it's changed suddenly. So is that bluntly criticising Mark Hughes again, from people higher up than Mark Hughes at the football club, head of recruitment, saying it suddenly changed after building towards a formation, a play style? Ryan Sparks coming in saying that he got given a he should have done better and he failed, and it just seems like we always are quick to blame the managers, and yet it's always the managers who get sacked and replaced by a new manager who gets sacked, and no heads roll above the manager. It's always the manager's fault, not the people who recruit the manager and not the people who recruit the players. Interesting. The training ground, it's a challenge, but it's not an issue. And then he said, well, it is an issue, I accept that, but I look at it more as a challenge. So we went back on his words there. He did say none of the managers had an issue with the training ground or the stadium. I suppose they wouldn't, but I know that Simon Grayson did back in 2018, it will have been, when he left the club, because he said the facilities are up to standard and the club's a mess run by idiots. And I know that we're under Edding, so it's completely different CEO, and that's obviously our new CEO speaking of it, but previous managers have had an issue with it, so make of that what you will. And again, increased turnover by nearly 45%. I've made plenty of errors first job as CEO, and that's the problem. It is his first job as CEO, but it's the CEO of our football club. I get it's his dream job, and I've said before, it's my dream job to play up front for Bradford City every week. I'm not going to purposefully fail in that job. Some people are up to it, some people aren't, and I do feel like Ryan Sparks, he ain't the sole problem, and I've said that earlier in today's video, that the problem's the man at the top of the tree. The problem is the person in the most power of the football club, the person who decides whether it should be up for sale or not. And he did say that he can't, and obviously he can't say if the club's up for sale or not. He can't say if there's been any offers. He said he's not aware of any physical offers, but he's aware of interest, and there's going to be interest when it's an asset of Bradford City. And we talk about it all the time that we don't have many assets for Bradford City, and I suppose there isn't many assets compared to what other clubs have. But you look at Carlisle United; they've been took over by an American consortium. Do they have many assets? Gillingham, do they have many assets? I don't look at them and say they're better than Bradford City at all. And I think the thing is with us is what separates us compared to any other fan base in the EFL, and I'm sure there's others as well, but for me what makes us equal to the very best fan base in England is that we stick through our football club through thick and thin. You ignore the outside saying, oh yeah, the tight sods, from Yorkshire, only there because it's cheap season tickets, it's all a load of rubbish. Before Parkinson came in and, we had loads of years of decline, there was still a good few thousand to 10,000 who were going. I don't know the exact number, but it wasn't higher than 11,000, but it wasn't lower than 5,000 that were going around that period from 2006 to 2011. The only problem I have is we just don't unite enough, and we're too divided, and we don't ever kickstart something. And I think now's the time to try and start something against Rupp and Sparks, because although there's a big semi-final coming up in the crappy cup that I've called before, but now it's the official Bristol Street Motors Trophy, which I'd be delighted if we win, and I still would be. I know there's a lot saying that I'm not keen if we win it now, because I know that Sparks and Rupp will just use it against us and use it for them and leverage to say how good they've done and that they've had success in that tournament, and I get that, but for me, do you support Bradford City if you don't want to see them lift a trophy at Wembley? For me, that's something I dream of, and a lot of people will dream of. I think there's something wrong if you don't think that. But I understand the pros and the cons for it. But for me, the pros massively outweigh the cons of getting to see Bradford City lift a trophy at Wembley. Because I did go to a Northampton game, but I was probably still, well, I wasn't in a nappy, but I was probably still watching, Fireman Sam or whatever. So, it's something I'd absolutely love to see. We got told as well, director of football being discussed, something we won't write off to help improve us. For me, I don't think he'll ever look at it. I think it's a safe response to say that we'll look at it. If you flat know it, you're going to get a lot of criticism. If you say yes, you've got to do it because you're sort of promising that you're going to do it. But whereas if you just leave it as a sort of middle ground that we might look into it, we won't write it off. It's a very easy sort of answer that. So I don't think we will bring in a director of football because I do think that Sparks and the people below him, he can move them whichever way he likes, and it's easier for him because there's not someone maybe taking over him or having a different say on the on-field matters of transfers and everything else that a director of football involves. I do know that Stephen Gent doesn't go to games to scout players. He sits and watches us with Ryan Sparks next to him, cuddled up to him, which is bizarre to say the least for me, because I think if you're head of recruitment, you should be looking at other players and allowing your manager to say what he perceives the squad's weaknesses to be, not from you, from sitting in the middle in the family stand. Anyway, we've spoke about the balanced strategy to recruitment, experienced players coming in, to work on younger players and the atmosphere. I think that's something that we've got to look at. Phil Parkinson's come out previously in the last few months saying it when he brought in players, they had to have the right character to play at Valley Parade. And I think that's something you've got to do. But when I look at that squad, I don't think a lot of them have the right character and the mentality. I see a lot of heads drop. We do scout in the National League, and we use Y-Scout and other platforms for videos. Make of that what you will. But scouting National League, it's something we do, but we've never signed someone from there. And I think the excuse was because teams want to keep hold of the players, like we did with Jake Young. Yeah, someone from Halifax went to Exeter over a week. Solihull Moors striker went to Wimbledon, who made his debut against us, a highly tipped player. So the players leaving the National League all the time. Gateshead players are always leaving. They're really good, well coached players who always leave. There's players all over the National League who go into the EFL and make it like a duck to water. Take it to it like a duck to water. And all we get told is, we scout players abroad, and we scout the Irish League very well. Yeah, really well, but we've brought in one player in Kelly who I highly rate, and Adam Wilson, who I highly rate, who came in from Wales. But they're the only two players we brought in from abroad, and Ireland is the only actual abroad country out of those, because obviously Wales is part of the UK. So, what does abroad mean? Are we going to bring in Kai Brunker? Is he going to be coming back? Is that what we mean by bringing in abroad players and scouting abroad players? Ryan Sparks said he's took risk before in bringing in injury-prone players, but it's not intentional to bring in injury-prone players. Yet you brought in players who you perceive to be a risk because they're injury-prone. I mean, come on. Just admit, we brought in some injury-prone players before, and it's something that we're not looking to do again. But we will do it again, of course. And I know that injuries are part and parcel. We've got players who have had unlucky injuries recently, but we have players like Patterson who keeps getting recurring hamstring injuries. Jamie Walker, I don't know if this current injury is an injury that he's had before, but he's never fit. Every few months you get a good couple of games from him, a couple of bad games from him, but overall, after that couple of month spell where he then gets injured again. And the best players in your squad are consistent players, and the ones who are injured, because you can't contribute anything if you're injured. You're stealing a rage if you're injured. Best thing you can do is keep yourself fit. So yeah. Oh yeah, and something else he said, just to quickly touch on this, we want to be in a Peterborough situation. And I know he's friends with Darren McAntony, but we are never, ever going to be anything like Peterborough Ryan Sparks at the football club. I can say that for certain. And we're getting to the push and shove of the interview, and I must say Jamie Rayner did a good job. Obviously asking the tough questions. What questions did you want to hear the most? I think there were a couple of that I would have liked to have heard about the recruitment of managers. Obviously, Cowley, Robinson and Artell turning us down, for certain reasons. I do feel like a couple of those, sort of hinted at it. I think Artell hinted that he turned us down, but didn't say it was us. I think Robinson came out and turned us down, and Cowley definitely did. That were all over the media, so you could have definitely gone in with Cowley, and I would like to know about what goes through the due diligence of the recruitment of managers, because we brought in Mark Hughes, completely different to Alexander. I've talked about it before, it bores me to be honest with you, but the best question we got was, all the fans always ask me about the corners. Why do we leave all the men back in our box? And he just said it gives us insurance, and we watch loads of variations of how teams come. Just boring, really, waste of a question. But that's what Graham Alexander were there for, to divert any further questions against Ryan Sparks, of course. But another one as well, why is the pitch so bad this season? Last season, towards the back end, it were digging up a bit, but previous to that, it's been in the best quality it's been as the pitch, and all of a sudden this year, it looks like the pitch you'll see at the Super Bowl. I mean, it's absolutely shocking. No plans for Stephen Wook to buy the ground. I'm pretty sure the lease ends in 3 years, judging by what I've heard from places, but there's a 25-year extension on the table in 6 months. If I heard that right, that's interesting. Obviously doing good contacts with Gordon Gibb, so make of that what you will. I think most of it is make of it what you will. The big one, they will do a second fans forum. I'm pretty sure I heard that as well. If I heard that right, BBC Radio Leeds contacted them. Simon Parker said he contacted Ryan Sparks, which is good to see the local media, contacting them to do these fans forums, the Q&As, sit down interviews, meet and greets, whatever you want to call them. The Bradford City Independent Fans Group, which if you're still not aware of them, become aware of them, because they are trying to make change. They've got 700 members now. They need 100 more members to be recognised properly by the club. We've hit 700 members this afternoon. Try and get more people to get on. Join it if you please can, because we want to try and grow it. We want to try and get recognised by the club. Obviously, as a whole united fan base, there's 15,000 of us. If people, family members are out on the social media, do it for them, and with their consent. But even if you completely disagree with me tonight, and completely disagree with people who are up in Sparks now, I've said it before and I'll say it again, it doesn't matter. We're a fan base. We should connect, and even if football and life is a matter of opinions. And the opinions shouldn't be taken seriously unless they are some opinions that we obviously saw on Saturday, which none of us condoned, from what we saw in the Midland Road towards Omar Bugle, I think it was, which is just completely unacceptable. And I think we can all agree that those people, or that person, is an idiot for that. Unfortunately, that's what goes through some people's minds. But overall, what I do on here, what people talk about in the pub, what people talk when they're walking into and out of Valley Parade, it's a matter of opinions, and everyone disagrees with that, and everyone disagrees with it respectfully. But when it's something like that, they're trying to do a peaceful, respectful whoop out and Sparks out by connecting to the club. And even if you whoop in and Sparks in, then it involves you as well, because you can try and connect to them, to connect to the club, and that's the ultimate goal for us fans, to try and connect to the club. So I've gone on for quite some time, I agree, so I'm sorry to bore you this Tuesday afternoon, but it's obviously a big interview, a lot of conversation from it, but a lot of drivel, I think, as well. I think it's a lot of trying to make yourself look good, but at the same time, you can't really blame him, because he's up against not the easiest job, with Stephen Wook being the man above you. And like I said at the very beginning of the video, and I'll say it again, his mandate was to stay up and don't go bust. That is coming from the owner of our football club, and who came in with Eddie Wright and said, we want to be in the Premier League, I think in 4 years, was it? 5 years, and we're now at the basement of the EFL, sat in 18th place in League 2, looking perilous, with a CEO who came in 3 years and 3 months ago, getting told that you must keep us up, and we mustn't go bust. And that's the type of thing that Neil Warnock gets told when he goes into a football club, to be their manager until the end of the season, not for a CEO to be here for 3 years and 3 months. But like I said earlier, he looks a bit under pressure, and I do feel like, if we can get this protest right, and there's no protest plans really yet, but that's in the it's in the pipeline. I think that's the right word, the right phrase. And they're working on it at the Independent, but also as fans we're working on it, and we want to. If we can get this right, I think we can get action. But the main goal is to try and to hear from the owner, who we haven't heard from since probably 2017. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like the video if you did, and please subscribe. All the support is massively appreciated. We're on the road to 300 subscribers now. Thank you for 261 subscribers. Like I say, all the support's massively appreciated. Have a good one.